The Dragon Queen has returned. The player characters find themselves in a small village, suddenly attacked by her army. This leads to an escalating conflict, where the heroes start at level 1 and soon find themselves as heroes of the land. No, we're not talking about Tyranny of Dragons. We're talking about D&D's latest adventure, Dragonlance: Shadow of the Dragon Queen, and answering the question, is this a book worth buying and adding to your collection? Hi, I'm John from Incendium D&D, and today we're going to be taking a look at Shadow of the Dragon Queen, D&D 5th Edition's latest adventure. Shadow of the Dragon Queen is the latest campaign adventure released by Wizards of the Coast for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. We're getting a little bit of content fire hosing here, especially with the release of the latest Unearthed Arcana for 1D&D. And one question you can reasonably be asking yourself is, should I be buying this product knowing that in 2024 we're basically getting a new edition? The book does come with an additional species option. They still use the term race there. It comes with a new subclass, new ways to look at backgrounds and feats, and although it has some details about running Krynn as a campaign setting, it is mostly an adventure. Now, what's kind of unique about this campaign is that it's released alongside a tactical board game, Warriors of Krynn, and these two products are meant to interact with each other. I have not purchased Warriors of Krynn, but having read through some sections where Warriors of Krynn is referenced, I can kind of speak to whether or not that additional product is worth buying. So to start, like a lot of these kind of campaign adventures that include player options, like Wild Beyond the Witchlight or Princes of the Apocalypse, if you're strictly a player, this is not a book I recommend for you. While Kender is kind of an interesting option, I guess, and Lunar Magic Sorcery is interesting, it is not worth $35 to $50 in order to get just these options. I'm pretty sure you can get them a la carte digitally through D&D Beyond, but overall, the meat of this book really is the adventure. One of the things they are releasing in this particular adventure that they've revealed through survey feedback is really popular with the 1D&D playtest is first level background feats. Through interviews with Jeremy Crawford and members of the design team, the idea is that this campaign is more difficult than normal, so therefore it's balanced to have player characters that are a little bit more powerful. Personally, in my latest homebrew campaign, I've already had my players kind of retroactively build one of the first level feats into their character. Not any of the setting specific ones, but basically I let them get skilled or tough. And it does add just kind of like that extra little element of personality to your character. You also get a free additional feat at 4th level. And these are some of the beefier ones, like Sentinel, Warcaster, and there are a few that build off of the feat that you get at 1st level, like if you're a Knight of the Rose or a Mage of High Sorcery. For Dungeon Masters asking, is this an adventure I want to run? I'm not sure that this is an adventure I'd recommend if you're a new Dungeon Master or you're DMing for new players. Any of the starter sets are better for that. But if your players are willing to buy into the setting and the tone of the adventure, and you as the DM have some semblance of organizational skills, I definitely think this is one of D&D's better adventures. I'm actually kind of surprised at how few reviews I've seen comparing this to Tyranny of Dragons, considering they're very similar, as I alluded to earlier, in terms of plot and theme. It even says straight up in the book, Takesis is Tiamat. It's just that in this particular world, she goes by a different name. However, having run Tyranny of Dragons myself 2 times through, making adjustments as best I could to keep the adventure flowing smoothly, I do think that Shadow of the Dragon Queen accomplishes those themes in a much more cinematic and fulfilling way, even though I haven't had the chance to run the adventure through myself. Just looking at it organizationally, I think it's easier for a DM to conceptualize and organize the events of the campaign in a way that accentuates its core themes of heroism and the brutality of warfare. Now, although this book was written with the Warriors of Krynn board game in mind, this is definitely something where you don't need the board game in order to successfully run the adventure. And in fact, for me personally, I don't want the board game. I like the fact that there is guidance on how to run these big battles more cinematically than tactically. I can see some play groups that have been together for a little while, maybe liking the fact that there's this kind of like mini game shakeup of moving over to the board game. But overall, I do find that it would be unnecessary to run as a DM. Also, I'm personally not super familiar with the Dragonlance setting. I know that the novels were extremely popular in the 80s, and that for a lot of community members, it's extremely beloved. I do think Dragonlance is a cooler setting than Faerun. I know, we really bash on Faerun on this channel. Of course, my favorite setting is still Eberron, but in terms of kind of that pseudo-medieval feel, I feel like Dragonlance's lore is a bit more compelling than kind of the kitchen sink fantasy that is Faerun. So if you're a DM that is a fan of Krynn and you're okay with there being some changes perhaps to the setting that you expected, or if you want to run a big war-style adventure module, Shadow of the Dragon Queen is a book I do recommend. Now, can it be reflavored to fit other settings? You're probably going to have to do a lot of work for that account. For example, one of the themes that I remember from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount is that setting also has to do with this war between the Dwendalian Empire, the Empire, and the Drow people, the resurrected ones, the ones that use a D12. Man, I really don't know my critical role lore. Anyway, for myself, I'd be super comfortable kind of reskinning a lot of the encounters, reflavoring, shuffling things around. I see myself getting a lot of use out of this book for running a campaign. But again, a lot of the options are tailored for the Dragonlance setting. So if you don't want to do a whole lot of work plugging it into your own custom world or a setting that your players are familiar with, or you're not interested in running a Dragonlance campaign, this is probably one that you can safely pass on. One last thing I want to mention, we're not going to do a whole review on it like with Vecna, but D&D Beyond did release a free Monstrous Compendium. This one I thought was kind of interesting because a lot of the characters they released in that were major players in the background of the Dragonlance book, but they don't include the stat blocks in the book. However, it is free. Vecna was only free for a little bit, and then you couldn't claim it after a little while. So I would claim it through a D&D Beyond account as quickly as you can. And I do think that some of those stat blocks are interesting as well. So now I want to know what all of you think. Are you interested in running Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen? Is this a book that you feel like you're going to pass on? Let us know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, let YouTube know. Hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye now.